good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with an instant match reaction to, quite honestly, ended up being a mauling in the new camp for Newcastle United. Barcelona 7, Newcastle United 2. I can't even believe I'm reading that out loud after watching that first half, but we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the key moments of the game, talk about what went wrong, what went spectacularly wrong in this game, talk about the opponents as well. We've got to give them credit for how outstanding they were. But my word, there was some real bad defending and issues and flaws on display in that second half for sure. We'll get stuck right into that. Before we do, a little reminder, if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. Help get us to the next milestone, which is 13,000. We're about 200 and something away. So you guys can help get us there. Recommend us to family and friends. All free content, Evermore. But if you do want to become a member and support the channel further, there's a member option down there below. Access to our Discord group, which is very nice. It's very friendly as opposed to social media, which is a little bit like a bar we go in and somebody swings a punch for you these days. So it's nice to be in the Discord group. It was popping off during the game with a variety of opinions about this performance, as you can imagine. So let's get stuck in. I mean, the team lineup was pretty much easy for all of us to call, really. We all got it right. You know, in terms of the previews, I think every content creator, every Newcastle fan that was talking about it, we probably got it right. Ramsdale continued in goal. It was Kieran Trippier, not Tino Livramento. We'll get into that in a little bit. In the right back slot, we had Malachau and Dan Burn, not Sven Botman. At centre half, Lewis Hall, super Lewis Hall, who uses full tile. At left back, Sandro Tonali did make a recovery from his illness. He kept him out of the Chelsea game. In the midfield with Jacob Ramsey and Joe Linton. And then the front three was Barnes. It was Gordon through the middle, who didn't really get much of a kick tonight. And it was Elanga on the right-hand side, who weirdly did get a couple of kicks tonight. But we'll get into all that in a minute. Now, this was a huge game for Newcastle. The Barcelona team, full of superstars. But to be honest with you, two of the main superstars, and I'm going to start this in a bit of a bitchy mood, right? And it might sound bitter. So any Barcelona fans in the comments will probably call me bitter, right? But for me, last week in the first leg, Lamine Yamal and Ferran Lopez both of them should have been yellow carded and shouldn't have played in this game. And they've had massive influences on this game. So then you go back to last week and say that referee completely dropped his arse. And the two star players in this game shouldn't have played, in my opinion. But it might not have made a difference, but they were massive influential in this game and they shouldn't have played in this game. I'm going to get that right out in the open early on because I think that was a fucking disgrace in that referee last week. And it's something that you've got to turn around. You've got to ask, you know, UEFA what the fuck was all that about. But nobody will because, you know, they won't get an answer anyway. But let's get into the game itself. So we actually started all right, to be fair, in the game. You know, we didn't look scared. We didn't look overawed. You know, I think we had a chance. Dan Burn, nice swivel shot with his right foot where Garcia saved it. A couple of crosses in the box in the first few minutes. And we looked all right. And then bang, the first sucker punch. They break. Malachau falls over on his arse. Not for the first time. He had a bit of a gaff this evening, but he fell over and the ball came through. And just before it falls to the Barcelona attacker, before it comes back to Rafinha, Lewis Hall falls to Rafinha, puts a little bit of a dummy fade on it, curls it into the bottom corner. Barcelona 1-0 up in the 6th minute of this game, and you're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a really long night for Newcastle. You're thinking this could be a complete battering. But credit to Newcastle, they didn't shrink, they didn't shy away, they kept going, they were trying to get stuck in, they were trying to press, they were going man for man against Barcelona, they were trying to make it difficult for them. And then on the 15th minute, we get the goal. The 15th minute, we break, and Anthony Elanga, of all people, gets into the box. It's a lovely little bit of play between Lewis Hall and Harvey Barnes. Ball comes across, and it's a lovely finish from Anthony Elanga. Just kind of gives a keep of the eyes, kind of gives a little bit of a chip over Garcia to the back of net. It's a brilliant finish from a player who normally can't finish a sentence with a full stop. And we're back in the game. We're 1-1. You're thinking, come on, Newcastle, this is incredible. You're at the Nou Camp. You're 1-0 down. And you've just roared back to get an equaliser. This is absolutely brilliant. And 3 minutes later, we're 2-1 behind. I don't know what the fuck happened with this goal because Dan Burn drops and everybody else stays. So it looks like they're trying to play an offside trap. Dan Burn isn't playing an offside trap. He drops back. Ball comes over, little header across. It eventually falls to Bernal. He puts it in the back of the net for 2-1. And you're thinking, what on earth is going on here? But Burn's screaming at the back four or the back three. They're all looking at him going, what are you doing? It just seemed like a bit of a mess, really. And you're thinking, my God, what on earth is going on here? Newcastle are 2-1 down now. Are Barcelona going to take control of this game? Are they going to step it up? Are they going to absolutely rinse us now? But again, massive credit to Newcastle United. They don't shrink. They don't disappear in the game. They come back into the game, and again, it's Anthony Elanga again. It's a lovely bit of play. Again, it's Lamine Yamal trying to get a little bit too cocky with it. Tries a daft little back heel on the edge of his own box practically. Super Lewis Hall is up his arse. He gets the ball, wriggles through him and Barnes, kind of flicks off Hall's boot, falls to Elanga of all people again, the back stick, and he puts it away. Elanga's got a brace. He's on a hat-trick at the new camp, and you're thinking, what the hell is going on here? And Newcastle United are looking good for going in a half-time level in this game, which is incredible when you look at it that way. And then just before half-time, Barcelona, again, they were starting to grow in the game. They were starting to build up that momentum. They were passing through us. They were moving the ball around us quicker. We were starting to struggle a little bit, starting to lose that shape. Tonali was magnificent in the first half. He was covering so much ground. He was trying to cover 2 or 3 other players who were starting to lose a little bit of their kind of discipline, structure, and shape. And then Barcelona come through us with an attack. It's a lovely ball across the box. It's passed down Burnley. He hasn't even seen it. Trippier's coming in the back stick, and he just pulls Rafinha's arm. Weirdly enough, seconds before that, Elanga gets ahead of Cancelo, and he pulls him. Actually pulls him by the back of the shirt. He goes down. Referee doesn't even look at that. Doesn't even give that a look. Waves it away, and then the same thing happens at the other end. Now, I'm not going to say it's not a penalty because Kieran Trippier has hung onto his arm for far too long. Honestly, he has hung on worse than a fucking turd on a bus on a stag do trip. That's how much he's hung on to Rafinha, and he goes down, rightly so. The referee goes over to the monitor. As soon as he goes over to the monitor, you're thinking that's a penalty. But my word, how lucky was Kieran Trippier, because in European football, and Trippier should know that as well, the level that he's played at, the amount of games he's played at, he should know he's very, very lucky to not get a red card for that particular moment, because if he had got a red card, I would not have been surprised whatsoever if he got a red card. And he's lucky to stay on the pitch. But we go in at halftime 3-2. Trippier, to be brutally honest, he got the run around a bit. He's passing a couple of nice balls down the line to Elanga, but he ignored him quite a bit. He was getting caught massively with the pace and the trickery of Rafinha and the overlaps as well, and midfield running at him. And, there was talk before the game from Kieran Trippier about, age is just a number and all that, and he feels good and he feels that he could play on and everything else. And listen, Kieran Trippier has been a magnificent player for Newcastle since he signed. He signed in his 30s. He's been magnificent for the football club since he signed. He's given us some brilliant moments, Carabao Cup wins, Champions League qualifications, scoring free kicks, setting up goals. But time has definitely catched up on Trippier, and I've said this for a long time. Time has been catched up on Trippier, and in this game against these kind of opponents at this level, it was there for everybody to see. So he comes off at halftime. Tino Livramento comes on, which is the right call. I'll give Eddie Howe credit for that. He had to make that decision because Trippier was getting absolutely toasted, and he was on that yellow card. I think he would have definitely got a red card, if he'd stayed on the pitch. And Tino comes on, and you're thinking, all right, okay, this is all right. Newcastle are going to get, maybe a little bit more of a control in this game. We'll have Tino's pace. My word, I don't know what in the fuck was said at halftime in that changing room, because that team come out and they looked like it was a game of FIFA and somebody unplugged their controller. Barcelona completely stepped up the levels, and Barcelona made us look like a pub team, made us look like a non-league side playing Man City in the FA Cup or something like that. They absolutely ran us ragged. They were passing through us, they were passing around us. Yamal was spinning little tricks, sending people that way for a Cerveza, that way for a Paella. It was an absolute joke. And Newcastle were just chasing shadows, and we were nowhere near. Tonali was probably the only player, Tonali and Hall, probably the only players who looked like they belonged at that level in that second half for a bit. And then Tonali goes off injured and it absolutely kills us. Just before he goes off, Fermin Lopez runs right by him. It's a ball straight through the middle. Tonali switched off, probably one of the only times in the night he switched off. Fermin Lopez, again, a player who should have been suspended for this game, runs right through him. Tonali doesn't see him coming. He just tucks it under the goalkeeper. That's the fourth one. Then the fifth one is so quick after that. It's a corner that comes in. I think Tonali's gone off, I think, he went off, just before the Lewandowski goal. Tonali goes off. He gets back and tackles Lopez to stop him scoring another goal. Gets injured. That's a worry for Sunday. The corner comes in. I think it's Tonali's walking off the pitch. The corner comes in. I don't know if Tino Livramento's got his eyes closed at the back stick or whatever, but Lewandowski, who'd done nothing really in the night prior to that, just ghosts in on the back stick, so weak by Livramento, barely gets off the ground. And Lewandowski does what he's done best for so many years, and he just heads it in the back of the net. It flicks off Tino and goes in. So you could argue it was slightly unlucky. But the fourth and the fifth goal killed Newcastle. It comes so quick. It's like a blink of an eye. It's like, oh, what happened there? And we're 5-2 down, and you're thinking, there's no way back in this game really for Newcastle. There isn't a way back. I don't know what they're going to do here. Are they going to change it up? Are they going to try and go 5 at the back and stop the flow? They don't do that. And then Lewandowski gets his second goal. They break through. The ball comes through. Yamal with a lovely little bit of skill again. He does another spin, sends him for a hot dog. He slips it through to Lewandowski. He goes through one-on-one with Ramsdale, a big part. And he does a little feint, just a little tiny little bit of feint, which is what quality centre forwards have got in the locker. He's 37 or something now, Lewandowski. He's been doing this for years. And he just bangs it in the bottom corner. He's got a second goal of the night. He's barely had a kick before that. Smashes it in the bottom corner. And they're 6-2. They're 6-2 up. And then you see the changes. Sven Botman comes on and he goes 5 on the bench. And you're thinking, well, Eddie Howe's just trying to stop this being even more of an embarrassment than it was before. But you know what? 10 minutes later, 11 minutes later, it happens again. Rafinha gets in again. It's just too easy for Barcelona. Again, it's like a game of FIFA, man. It's embarrassing. It's like one of them games where people disconnect online and stop playing. Rafinha makes it 7-2. And to be honest with you, it could have been 8, 9, 10. The way Barcelona were just cutting through us with every single attack. Lewandowski's second goal, just in your comment, Daz, Byrne was all over the place. He was totally lost. The levels, the chasm of levels between us and Barcelona was like us playing Karabag. That's what it looked like that second half. We looked like we didn't belong anywhere near this level in the Champions League. And when you look at that squad, now listen, I'll caveat this by saying the lads done magnificently to get to this point in the Champions League. Nobody expected Newcastle to be at this point. People expect us to be 5-0 down from the bloody first leg when it was first drawn. We were lucky not to be 1-0 up. But the level differences between us and Barcelona there were unbelievable. Every single one of their players would probably walk into our first team, really. Certainly their attacking threat, Yamal, Rafinha, Lewandowski, even at 37, would probably lead our line the way he's playing. He'd probably score goals for us. Pedri in midfield, the players that are missing even as well would walk into our team. And when you step back a little bit, take your blinkers off and step back a little bit and look at that situation, if that's where Hopkinson and the PIF want us to get to, we are light years away. You could jump in the Millennium Falcon and fly there and you still wouldn't get to where Barcelona are right now. We are so far away from this level. It's almost immeasurable. It really is. And that second half showed that. We had nothing. We had nothing for them. There was no tactical nous. There was no quality. There was nobody to grab the ball, get the foot in it, make something happen. Even if Bruno had played, I don't think that would have changed either. Unless we had a proper centre forward. If we'd had, an Alexander Isak in his prime tonight, listen, we still might have been beat. But I think, we would have had a bit more than what Gordon was given. And Gordon didn't do a lot today. He ran in charge at the goalkeeper. He pressed a lot. But again, you look at that game. He was good on Saturday against Chelsea, who were poor by many standards, really. But looking at Gordon tonight, he's not a centre forward against a side like that. He really isn't. I thought Barnes in the first half was excellent with Lewis Hall, and Tonali was good in the first half. But then they all just disappeared off the map in the second half. I'm not even going to give a man of the match. I can't sit here and give a man of the match when you've been beat 7-2 in the Champions League. I just can't do it. Sorry, guys, I can't do it. If I was going off the first half, I'd probably say it was either Hall or Barnes, probably the way they were playing. Alanga getting a brace. But when you finish that game, it's 7-2, and you're lucky it's not double digits. It's really hard to give anybody man of the match. It really is. And look, I know that we are playing against one of the best teams on the planet, with some of the best players on the planet. Yes, you've got to respect that. But that was not a game when Newcastle should have been battered 7-2. Being 3-2 in the first half, had you been beaten maybe 5-3 or something like that, you maybe been able to forgive it. But to just be absolutely annihilated in the second half by Barcelona was actually quite depressing in many ways. It really was. Some of the defending was so amateur. It was pub team. It was pub team defending. It really was. There's no making excuses for it. Malak Chow dilly dallying with the ball and fucking about and getting people under pressure. a lot of times we were trying to overpass it against that team, and you were like, what? Like, what is going on there? And all these people who say that Eddie Howe is an elite manager, you look at that, right? Hansi Flick's an elite manager. That's what elite managers do. They change tactics when it's not going well for you. I mean, even De Zerbi did this in the Champions League earlier on in the season for Marseille, and they beat us. And I don't know what Eddie's done there. I don't know what he said at halftime, but they've made a tactical change, which has massively increased their levels, and we've had no response to that. We've had no response to that rather than just playing the way that we always play. And look what's happened. We've been absolutely annihilated. But Barcelona can do that to teams. They've done that to better teams than us in the Champions League. I'm not making excuses for a performance like that because it's an awful performance. When you deliver a performance like that and you get beat 7-2 in any game, any competitive game, you've been pretty shit, and you can't sit there and say you haven't been. And they just ran through us with ease. They were playing in second gear half the time. Barcelona, they had levels to go up in. I think that score could have been anything they wanted it to be. But what it does is it puts way much pressure on the game on Sunday. Really massively stokes up the pressure for the derby on Sunday. It was already a massive game in many ways for me. I think that the game on Sunday was bigger than this game because I didn't think we'd win this game. I said in the preview, and I said on What's Going On Monday, as long as the lads put in a good performance and don't disgrace themselves, then we can take pride and take it into Sunday. The first half, you can definitely say they did that. I think they were excellent in the first half, and they didn't disgrace themselves. They actually gave a really good account of themselves. But listen, football's a 19-minute game. You cannot show up or not show up in the second half against opponents like that and get your asses handed to you, wrapped in a red bow, and try and claim you've had a decent game at all. I don't give a shit what you've done in the first half. When the game ends 7-2, sorry, Newcastle, not good enough. Not good enough at all. Beaten by a brilliant team, and probably would have beat us anyway, but playing like that in the second half is just, it's almost unforgivable. It really is. Just, some of the shit at the end, like Ramsey had a really good game in the first half, right? What the fuck was that pass? You're getting battered. You're like, fucking, what were you, 5-2 down or something like that? Actually, that was the seventh goal, wasn't it? We're 6-2 down, and he tries a 25 yards crossfield dink to Malik Chow. What are you doing? Like, just get the ball down and knock it wide and try and do something. Don't do that in your box. I mean, you ruined his whole game really doing that, did Ramsey. He did really well in the first half. But this is literally a game of two halves. Newcastle excellent in the first half, but second half just absolutely atrocious and miles off playing football at this level. But we don't have to worry about that next season because we won't be in the Champions League. But Newcastle need to come back and put in a performance that all those fans of performance on Sunday. They do anyway after the way they played at the stadium like earlier in the season, but massively even more so after losing that game in the fashion that they have, going out the Champions League in the fashion that they have. They've got to turn up on Sunday because we're only 2 points from the top 7. Newcastle have now got to focus on the Premier League. They've got to come back, screw their heads on, and get back into the Premier League and start getting some results. They've got 8 games left, and there's winnable fixtures in there when Newcastle can take points off teams around them as well and try and qualify for Europe. But there's going to be a long flight back for those players and a long few days to get this out of their system. Again, as I say, first half, brilliant, but second half, just wow, just atrocious, really. So we'll get to some of your comments, guys. Comment there from Chris saying, look tired in the second half, magnificent in the first, sloppy, poor trips, gifted in the lead. Yeah, he did. Marcus says, I think Marcus was at the game tonight. Even everyone, remember, like and subscribe to this brilliant channel. I'm sad and angry at the same time. Yeah. A rainbow of emotions, Marcus. George is saying the fourth kills her. The fourth and the fifth killed us, George. It was so quick. It was like watching Bruce Lee punch somebody. It was that quick. That fourth, fifth. I blinked. I think I turned around to make me sell a cup, I think. It was bloody 5. I thought, what the hell's going on there? Dreadful, man. Dreadful. Stephen says that was a little bit embarrassing, wasn't it? It was. Ian says he's ashamed of that. Coming from UK, Dan says this was meant to be our biggest historical game. We played second half like that. I mean, listen, I remember seeing, was it Arsenal got beat 7-2 by Manchester United a few years back. It can happen. It can happen to teams, but it's how you bounce back. But yeah, this was bad. As Vincent says, you can lose, but not like this, lads. Yeah, I mean, I really hope Howe doesn't come out and try and spin some of his greatest hit lines for that, because there is no excuse in that second half. We were so far off of it. Absolutely didn't even belong on the same pitch as Barcelona. Really did. Vincent says we blew our lead in the first half. That was all she wrote. Yeah, don't disagree with that. Chipper says disgusting second half. No fight, no effort, lack of passion, shameful. Just levels miles away from it. Nikki says, what the fuck was that second half? Yeah, that is a great question. I'd love somebody to ask him that, but they won't do. Kim says, wow, what the fuck happened in the second half? I can't believe it. What happened to half time? What did he say? I really don't understand. Marcus got a new word, shangry. Sad shit angry. Love it. Shangry. It does sound like a drink, though. Kai's been a member for 2 months. Thanks, mate. Second half of the game will be on Pornhub. Well, we definitely got fucked, mate. I tell you, definitely. Vince says, conceding after 6 minutes set the tone. Yeah, but I mean, the road back, though, Vincent, you got to give them credit for that. They got back into the game twice at the new camp. And, that's no small feat, which is what's so frustrating, because you do that in the first half and then you do that in the second. I just don't understand where their minds went. After that first half performance, they should have been buoyed by it. They should have been enthused by the fact that they could hang with Barcelona. But, I mean, will Barcelona just take the piss? Were they just warming up? I don't know. But that's what it seemed to be, because they went like that and we just went woof. That's sound effects to anyone who's, you won't be listening on audio, but if you are listening on audio and you're driving or something, I basically said Barcelona went up and we went down like a sack of shit. Kyle saying, got battered fair and square in the game. There's no excuses for losing 7-2. There isn't, but people will find them, you guarantee. Adra says, terrible result, regroup and focus on the next game, which happens to be a huge game against Sunderland. Sunday's massive, says Kyle, so we don't win, Eddie out. Ooh, there will be shouts for that. There will be. I don't think he'll go anywhere, though. I'm going to say that. I think the owners will keep him until certainly next season. And then if he starts slow next season, he may be under pressure. But I don't think he's going to lose his job. I really don't. No matter what happens. I mean, if the Sunderland beat us 6-0 or something, which Jesus doesn't even bear thinking about, then he might. But I don't think that'll happen. Jay says, can someone buy Chow some new stuff? And he does fall over a lot, doesn't he? He does fall over quite a bit. Martin said, I don't think I've ever seen us capitulate like that in the second half. I don't think I have, mate, to be honest with you. Even under Bruce, I haven't seen that. Squire Jummy says, are they being fed poisoned bananas at halftime? Maybe. Don't claim my handle. Barca fan here, just checking on what happened with you guys. It's a good question, mate. I'd love to know myself. Answers on a postcard. Dan saying, hi, Chris and Mark. I'm just saying hi before I go and drown my sorrows. Fuck the shit second half. Not the team's fault. It's Howe's flick adapted his tactics. You only have to watch Lewandowski to see. It's a fair point, mate. Enjoy your drink. Drink responsibly. Martin saying he's having a well-deserved drink after that. Absolutely. Adabird saying strong coffee and a spliff. Nice. I can imagine that's what Snoop Dogg has in the Swansea boardroom. Lil Waffle saying respect from Barca fan. You all gave us a run in the first half. Yeah, we did, mate. We absolutely did. But second half, just like it was like you were from a different planet, mate, and we were just from Newcastle. That was it, really. Gordon says, yeah, Gordon was invisible. Nice as Graham. He was rubbish. Martin says, Hall, as ever, man of the match, absolutely. If I was going to give one, I would give it to him. I thought he was really good again. Again, he's putting himself on the radar, isn't he? These massive clubs in Europe, that's the worry, because if they come in sniffing from him, throw him a big contract, will we keep him? I don't know. I know his dad's a Toon fan, but Christ, might be a worry. Mickey saying Sunday's a must-win now. It was before for me, Mickey. I don't even know if he can make it even bigger now, but it should have been anyway. They should have been looking to win that game anyway. They need to win that game. Chris was saying, gutted, I just can't believe how we folded tonight. Second to every ball. Yeah, we were. But there'll be excuses made, though, for it, mate. It'll just be because it's Barcelona and look how well they've done and, and all that stuff. You won't be allowed an opinion. I'm so exhausted by being a fan this season. You're not allowed an opinion. You're not allowed to question a manager. You're not allowed to question a play. You're not allowed to question the owners, or you just get vilified. Even if you get battered 7-2 in the Champions League, you're not allowed to ask those questions. It's so fucking exhausting. It really is. But not on this channel. You can have any opinion you want. That's okay. We don't have to agree either. But we're all talking about the same football club that we all love. Robert saying all the goals against were crap. Who sets up a corner defence where Tino's marking Lewandowski? He's got to be stronger than Rob. He's got to be better. Gordon had 10 touches all game and one shot, but there won't be any focus on that. Like when Voldemort had 12 touches and there was journalists doing videos about it. You won't hear that about Gordon. Benny, levels simple. Yeah, we tried to press him, got found out by quality. Lots of individual errors, dust ourselves down. I mean, there is an element of that as well. You haven't got a divine right to rock up and beat Barcelona of all teams at the new camp The quality they've got is just so far away from what we've got. Even their worst players will probably be our best player if we sign them tomorrow, or one of them. It's disappointing to watch that, isn't it? It's just disappointing. George is saying the fourth was a warning we didn't pay attention to. I don't think we paid attention to any of the goals, really. And Howard had a warning with that fourth one, and he didn't react. No, he didn't. Daz is in Turkey watching the match on Sunday. Better not spoil my holiday. Well, he should be somewhere nice, mate. Stay safe in Turkey, though, mate. Very close to shit kicking off. So you stay safe, Daz. Rico with super chat. Thanks, buddy. People saying they're proud. Fucking what? Yeah, I mean, I find it hard to say I'm proud. I mean, the first half, I was proud. The first half, I thought, wow, look at what the lads are doing here. They're really hanging with one of the best teams in world football at their own gaff. But then the second half, any pride I had was just eroded away. I'm sorry. I just was quite embarrassed, really, by that in many ways. I just felt it showed that we didn't belong there. I've heard people take the piss out of Karabag. Stop myself saying carrier bag. I blame the guy that got shots, lads, for that. I watched their video and they kept saying it's a joke. We watched Karabag, and we were saying they don't belong in the Champions League really with their levels. That's how we looked tonight. We really, really did. All the English teams have looked really poor at this stage of the Champions League, and that should be a concern for the Premier League. The Premier League's been shit this season. Maybe the English teams aren't as good as we thought we were. Certainly not when you're playing against the elites like that. Simon saying, I didn't expect us to win. It's how we lost. It's soul destroying. That's a really good way to put it, Simon. I agree with that. David saying, far too many times you played class first half, then rolled over second. I know we've done that against so many people, lesser quality than Barcelona even. Did it against bloody Brentford and Everton. Magpie 50 saying, I feel really sorry for the away fans watching that. The towel definitely got thrown. Well, I said that to Mark. When the fourth and fifth goal went in, if that was a boxing match, you'd have lobbed the towel in because we were just punch drunk. I was getting the Simpsons in my head, stop, he's already dead. That's how it felt. But they would just come wave after wave after wave of Barcelona. I was thinking this could be 10, 12-2. This could be the way that they're playing. Incredible, man. Incredible. Pop Mag saying, first half Brazil, second half slug and lettuce. Yeah, that's a very good point, mate. They say, Macams can only dream of being on the same pitch as Barca, at least. That's true, mate, but we'll save the gloating until after Sunday. I'm not doing that. Phil says, fuck it, let's talk about RoboCop again. Some of our defending felt a little bit like the guy in RoboCop. When the acid hits him, he just goes like running around. That's kind of how some of the defending looked in the second half, to be honest with you. They couldn't catch it. I don't think they could have caught anything with that a motorbike. Phil's saying that was Barcelona, not Burnley. The PL teams are getting taken to the cleaners in Europe. Absolutely. Mark saying, I'm not buying it, Chris. You have full-on devil stamina. Oh, that's good, mate. That's one of the best compliments I've had in a long time, mate. Leo saying, Prem embarrassed in the Champions League. They have been massively embarrassed in the Champions League. Wait till Man United getting there next season, Leo. I'm only joking, mate. Respect to Newcastle from Barca, says KZX. My heart goes out to you all. Respect for your journey. Please take it a little ease on yourself. Love and respect. What a lovely comment. Thank you, mate. What an unbelievable performance from your lads. I work for a big organization. One of my colleagues in Europe is a Barcelona fan. Last time we were at a meeting, we went out for a meal, and he was a top guy as well, and very respectful. Barcelona fans are a top draw, and they were excellent in our city. I must admit, I might sound like a bit of a fucking prude here, right? But I wasn't overly keen on watching pissed up knackers diving into fountains in Barcelona. I'm all for people are getting drunk and having a crack and all of that, but get pissed, sing your songs, wave your flags, wear your banners now, but don't take the piss and dive into Barcelona fans. I didn't see the Barcelona fans doing that in Newcastle. I didn't see them, climbing up Gray's monument or something like that. I mean, it would have been a hell of a fucking achievement, wouldn't it? But yeah, I didn't like that. But Barcelona fans always very classy, I think. Comment from William, I'm proud I didn't throw a brick through my TV. I'm proud of you as well, William. Well done. Well done. Dark Side of the Moon, super chat. Thanks, buddy. Hello, Chris. What a shit show. Embarrassing. I'm so angry at the manner of this defeat. Do you know what it is? I'm kind of shell-shocked a bit by it, really. I mean, in the past, I would have come on here and screamed and shouted and went fucking mad about it. But I expected us to lose this game. That sounds really negative. I just felt that them in their own home turf would have had way too much quality for us. But I just expect us to put up a better fight than that. And when you watch the first half and you see how we could get at them, getting behind them with pace, I thought, we've got a good chance here, even if we lose the game, putting in a good shift and would narrowly just get beat. But second half, we were annihilated, man. annihilated. It was mental, man. It was like, I don't know, just a random pisshead in the street going to fight a UFC fighter in a cage. Well, battered, absolutely battered. And Barcelona didn't take it easy on us at all. It smashed us to pieces. Every single attack practically. And we were so far off of it. And, this whole project and Piff and Hopkinson saying he wants to be top team competing for things. There's the chasm right there. If you think that's getting shrunk in 4 years, you are in cloud cuckoo land, as a former midfielder, now pundit, has said on numerous occasions. Papua New Guinea, the atmosphere at the Camp Nou was quality tonight, but imagine how it will be when their stadium is complete. It's an amazing stadium. Amazing stadium. The atmosphere, the presence, unbelievable. Unbelievable. That football club is incredible. It really is. And there is a nice connection between us. I think we've played them a few times now in Europe, but the Bobby Robson connection there as well. They are very respectful of us. We've seen a few fans in the comments. Just a classy club, a really classy club. I've always liked Barcelona better than Real Madrid. I've always felt Real Madrid were wankers, and then when they started the Galactico thing and all that, brilliant players, don't get me wrong, some of my most favourite players and the generation I grew up watching football in, but a horrible club, pretentious, pompous, arrogant, egotistical. Barcelona have always been that class act for me, but that doesn't make me happy. We've got pumped 7-2, by the way, but I'm just saying that's how I feel about them versus Real Madrid. Dan said you should have called this video "The Pain in Spain Sits Brooding on the Plane." Too many words, Dan. Too many words. Mark would have had a leppy with his design. Georgie boys, as a Barca fan, I love you. You are the best fans of the Prem. Thank you very much. See, class acts, these Barcelona fans. If we'd been pumped off Real Madrid, they would have been giving it to us big time in the comments. Steve says, "Can you fly, Christopher?" No, I can't. I wish I could. I would have flown to Barcelona and then flew back after the 7th goal went in. Tim says, "Bollocks, what's Mark cooking tonight?" I don't know what he's cooking. But Kieran Trippier got cooked in the first half, I can tell you that. 50 says, "Chris, now the game's gone on, so you think Eddie Howe's future is all on Sunday? The fans will have a say." Do you know what, mate? I don't think that is a ridiculous take, because Eddie Howe has had a lot of praise and a lot of credit for the last few weeks, couple of months, where performances have been better, and I've said as well, maybe he has turned the corner. The players look like they were playing for him again and all that kind of stuff. But a performance like that is the last thing Eddie Howe wanted going into such a huge game. That game was huge anyway. Even if we beat Barcelona tonight, if he lost the derby, there would have still been fans going mad about it because so much rides on it. But to get beaten that manner tonight and put the pressure on even more on the derby than there already was, there will be fans. That'll be their game. That'll be their sliding door moment. That'll be their time where they say, "I've had enough of this guy if we lose this game." But I still don't think the owners will do anything. I don't think they'll move him on. I really don't. I've gave my opinion on the manager. I think every beginning has an end, and I think this team has grown stale. I think the squad is stale. I think it needs a refresh in bodies. It needs a refresh in tactics. It needs a refresh in the vision. It needs a refresh in the playing squad, definitely. And I think that has to come all over. It has to come from players, has to come from managers. But I don't think the owners will do this. I think they're so disconnected and distant from this project that they once were so excited about, seemingly, that I just don't think they'll move the manager on. I think he'll start next season, and we'll have to just wait and see what happens then. Daz is saying we need to start cheating and breaking rules like Chelsea. That's the thing. I mean, we played so by the rules that were brought in to basically stifle Newcastle, and they've played by it. The PIF have played by it. But where's it got them, really? Yeah, a couple of Champions League qualifications, won a Carabao Cup, but if they just cheated a little bit or broke the rules a little bit and maybe finished top 4 more or won a league or something like that, what the Premier League going to do about it? They've done nothing about Chelsea, really. Yeah, they'll just find them now and give them an embargo, but they've done nothing about Manchester City either. So what would they do? If Newcastle got themselves in a position where they're one of the most popular clubs in the Premier League, had some of the most marketable players, Premier League would do nothing. But you can't go back and change things in the past, can you? Martin says, "Not negative at all, Chris. It's the way we lose that hurts. It's the hope that's the killer." It really is. It really is. Derek9 says, "It was like Rocky 3 as soon as Mickey died." We came for that was sad, mate. Whatever Mickey died, wasn't it? Terrible. Marcus cooking Korean beef ramen tonight. My God, he is exotic, isn't he? Tell me what. I thought he was going to cook a paella just to take the piss. Marcus says Barcelona number 2 to Dortmund is number 1. Is his UCL fan away game experience. I can imagine, absolutely brilliant. Mickey is saying Newcastle should change the name to Bipolar FC. They make elated 1 week and suicidal the next year. it is a tough gig, isn't it? It's a tough gig being a Newcastle fan when you're watching things like that, because literally, like, imagine you'd popped out for a takeaway or something at half time, and you come back and you saw that, you'd be like, what happened? What game am I watching here? What's going on? Just crazy, absolutely crazy. I just don't understand. It's a great comment from Snaky there as well. We need a decent striker. We do need a decent striker. This team, losing Alexander Isak was such a big blow for us in the summer, and not replacing him was an even bigger blow. I know Voltemade, a lot of people are big fans of Voltemade, and he's a good player. He's got something there about him, but he can't play in house formation. He's not got the pace to play in house formation, and that's why he's not playing. And that's why he's going for a left winger who hasn't scored a goal in a year, playing up front. Yeah, he's done well last few games, and the Sula's chaos when he comes on as well. But he wants pace leading that line, does how, and that's why Voltemade isn't playing. And I think that's why Voltemade will go in the summer. I really do. Comment there from the Byronic man. I expected to lose, however, the fight back in the first half was amazing. What the hell was said at half time? That's the thing for me. I think the fact that the fought back makes it even harder to take, doesn't it, really? 50 says, Chris, the problem is that we bought in too many ineffective players, and the other half is too old. I don't trust them with the money. There's a few who don't, 50, to be honest with you. There's a few who don't. And yeah, I just think it's, I don't know. It's just difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to even articulate sometimes. Mark says, well, one more sub away from 12,800, guys. So go on, somebody smash that button. Yes, George says, smash that button, sub somebody. Press that button and get us to 12,800. We appreciate that. Kai says he would sub twice if he could. God bless you, mate. God bless you. Phil is saying, starting to think how I made a speech halfway through the Titanic's voyage. That's a belter comment. I love that, mate. Absolutely love that. Superb. But yeah, we certainly felt like a Titanic in our second half. Jesus Christ. We just completely just shot away, didn't we? Comment there from Shah saying, I think the only guy who was technical is Lewis Hall on your team. Other players aren't good enough to play the ball. It's not a bad comment, to be fair. We do lack a lot of kind of technical prowess on the pitch. Bruno, Hall, Miley for a little bit when he played as well, looks after the ball really well. But nobody else seems to be that good with it. Ramsey's been good last few weeks, but he really struggled, I think, in that game. Certainly in the second half, he just faded away. I just think he was completely, eclipsed by the quality of Barcelona. And it's weird because I watched Pedri. I'm a big fan of Pedri. He didn't look like he was doing much, but just moves the ball really quickly, and it's so simple. Don't fuck around with it. Simple 2, 3, 4 yard passes, and then they release the killer pass. We try to go for the Hollywood ball too much and put pressure on ourselves. Manu's saying, well done to you, Chris, and others like TTR to having the energy to analyze that game. I'm completely done. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. I can't see someone getting a little bit upset in the comments there. I don't know what's going on there. Who's getting upset? Dark Side of the Moon. Has somebody called your names, mate? I don't know what's going on there. Mods or Mark. Have a look at what's going on there. No need for infighting, guys. We've been battered. We've got to hold our hands up and say we've been battered by a world-class side. Yes, thanks, Mark. Yeah, we'll keep it all civil, guys. But no need to tear each other's throats apart in the chat. I know we're a bit emotional and pissed off that we're just being humped in the Champions League, but we're all just here to talk about it. So we'll keep it all steady and calm in the chat, guys. No need for a little bit of this and that. Crocky the Croc has been a member for 6 months. Thanks, buddy. How can Tonali drop off so hard? Wasn't he class? He was class in the first half, mate, and then just disappeared, didn't he? Like everybody else. I don't know whether he burnt himself out. He's been ill, so maybe give him a little benefit of doubt. Maybe just stamina caught up on him, possibly. I don't know. But yeah, him and many others were gone in the second half. Temple says need to play Voltemade against Sunderland. I'd like to see Voltemade against Sunderland. He'd have a right mission, wouldn't he, to put that header right, wouldn't he? He would be playing out of his skin, I think. But I just don't think Howe will play him. I don't think he puts him in the side. I really, really don't. Graham says, how many quality players will hang around at the end of the season? Not many, mate, if we don't get Champions League or Europa. If we get Europa, I think some of them may stay. But if we don't, I think a lot of them will be gone. Mark's saying we're basically back to square one now. We are square one's the Premier League, and that's what we've got to focus on. We've got to concentrate on. We're only 2 points off that 7th spot. We can do it. we can really do it. But they've got to put in performances like they've been putting in the Champions League tonight, second half apart in the Premier League to try and climb that league, because it's there for them if they want it. It's there to take it. They're only missing Bruno and Miley really, and Shah obviously long-term injury, but we're only missing Bruno and Miley in terms of having a proper starting 11. So a quality starting, maybe 15, 16 players there. So yeah, they've got to get it done. Kev Turner saying another early morning heartbreak for the New Zealand Mags. Oh, God bless you, mate. God bless you. You are dedicated. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise as well, that you're not a valued supporter because you don't go to St James's Park every week. That's utter bullshit. Don't let anybody tell you that. You're getting up early at the crack of sparrow to watch Newcastle from the other side of the world. If Newcastle want to be a club like Barcelona, a global entity like Barcelona, they need fans from all over the world, not just the fans who rock up at St James's Park. So well done you, mate. Yes, George, are we 12,800? Get in the bag. Well done, everybody. Really appreciate the clicking of the buttons, especially after that tonight. My word. Ask over the super chat. Thanks, pal. I don't know what currency that is. Mark will have to do some research and check that. There's a complete lack of win in the players. It's fine to lose a game, but the way it was lost is unacceptable for a team that wants to be taken seriously. I think that's a really well articulated comment there, mate. I really, really like that, and I agree with that. I think that that's the problem you have here. It's the levels. We're so far off it. And anyone who tries to tidy that up and say, oh, well, it was only Barcelona. Yeah, it was. But, wow, I mean, to be that far away from them probably shows you where we are right now. And I think the season shows you that as well. Evan's been a member for a month. Thanks, pal. Architects of our own downfall. Pen ruiners again. It was a silly tackle by an experienced player as well. Robert says, the summer signings, Trafford, Solanke, Calvert-Lewin, heaven help us. I don't think we'll get Calvert-Lewin, mate. Solanke, I wouldn't want. Trafford, he's a good goalkeeper in there, and we need a good goalkeeper. I don't really blame Ramsdale for any of the goals tonight. He was looking on to get close to the pen as well. By the way, what was your Miles dancing all about? He done fucking out really before that. Stupid fucking man. I'm getting on my nerves. I hate this player dancing, these fucking handshake things. It's because I'm an old fart now. I'm getting grumpier by the day. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of all that. 1702 PKR Piff. Going to trust how with a large budget in the summer. 2 seconds, guys. Wet me whistle. If they're going to make a change, who makes that decision? Good question. Good question. I don't think they will make a change. I would, but I don't think they will. Patrick New Guinea said next transfer window will be vital for us. We'll be shopping in a different pool, though, mate, if we're not in Europe. That's the thing we need to look at. It's no surprise they're being linked to all these young players across Europe now, which I think is good, to be honest with you, because you've got to get away from these aging players who are in their 30s and people like Wissa. Wissa's a blueprint of a terrible signing for Newcastle. We should never have signed, certainly for the cost we signed him on, and the injury he has, the age he is. They should be signing those up-and-coming young quality players like the boy from Colne, the winger, a few others as well over in the Bundesliga. I'd like to see players like that come through. I really, really would. Uncle Buzzcocks, I love this lad's side, and that's why I'm pulling you up as a comment, mate. Big Nick up front on Sunday, and start Alanga again, who should be full of confidence. He should be. I thought Alanga took his goals really well. Pace was terrifying for Barcelona. He just doesn't have the kind of brain to go with it, the touch. He runs the ball out of play too much. But he took both his goals really well, so his confidence should be flying. And Gordon in behind Nick, but I know how won't. I don't think he will, mate. I think that's a great lineup, though. I'd love to see that. I like Barnes in the first half. I thought Barnes was really good. And then drifted away in the second half. He was practically a passenger, wasn't he, really, in the second half. There's a comment there from, is it Paula Manjara? I think your management is fucked up by saying Elliot Anderson. You won't get any arguments from me, mate. I've been saying that ever since we sold the lad. Now they're talking about buying him back for 100 million to replace Tonali. We'll see what happens there. I've got some comments here. Let's have a look. Mark says, Eddie Howe says Tonali has a groin hip problem and there's a doubt for Sunday. Oh, well, there we go. Wouldn't it be lush if Bruno come back or Miley just appeared to play as well? But I don't think either one of them is going to happen, to be brutally honest with you. But yeah, that makes us even more. That makes us even more in the shit for the derby. Ty says Yamal is actually a proper cringe bellend. Just believes his own hype too much. Man, it's a problem with these players. It's too much smoke gets blown out their arse. I mean, what he should be saying is, hey, that Lewis Hall's a hell of a player. Had to be on top of the game to skin him, but he's only a young lad. Maybe he'll get a bit classy when he gets a little bit older, but we shall see. Time will tell. Time will tell. We'll check a couple more comments, guys, and we'll call it a night. I'm sure you are all want to get on the beer or forget all about that. 1702 Trippier contract extension should have been answered tonight. For me, I don't think they're going to give him an extension. I'd be shocked if we do. I'd be absolutely shocked. I really, really would. Phil saying the summer should be interesting in many ways. Yeah, it will be. It will be. But again, if we're not in Europe, we're shopping in a completely different pool. I'm not even sure we'll get Europa. I've said that all season. And I just think that the inconsistency of this team, they'll show up against, I don't know, they'll show up against Arsenal away and just narrowly lose 2-1 or something like that, or 1-0. And then we'll get Bournemouth at home and be shit, get beat 3-1, something like that. That's the way the season's going. So I don't have enough belief in the players to get it done. But, they've got 8 games in the Premier League now. They've got to shake off this defeat to Barca, and they've got to get in to form, and they've got to try and do something to get European football because they need it to keep these players and to attract other players too. Yeah, George says no Europe for us. I wouldn't be surprised, George. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Woody says Sunderland key players are injured as well, so I wouldn't be too worried. That's good, Woody. Cheered me up there, mate. Thanks for that, pal. But yeah, I think that's probably us done now for tonight, guys. I think tough one to take that. Didn't feel like a 7-2 game at the end of that first half. Really didn't. I just think the levels showed in the second half. I think Newcastle's levels and Barca's levels, just how good they were, how effective they were, how clinical they were, how good they were with the ball, the movement and everything else. And we were just so far off of it. And it looked like we didn't belong on that pitch. It looked like we didn't belong in the Champions League. And, it's hard to say that. Kev saying the season's now over, nothing to play for. But pride, that's difficult. It's difficult to disagree with that. It feels that way now. But listen, the derby is massive, and these lot need to turn up and put in a performance and get 3 points. It's a must-win game for so many reasons. It's a must-win game to stay in the hunt for European football, but it's a must-win game as well to restore a bit of pride to all those fans who went to Barcelona, whether they had a ticket or not. They owe those fans, they owe every fan, a performance like after that second half. And, it's not a time to start arguing with each other and shouting and bawling at each other. All these Eddie in, Eddie out discussions and all this other shit that goes on. We're out of the Champions League. We've gone out with a whimper rather than a bang, and it's disappointing. But the Premier League's there. They've got to come back. They've got to knuckle down. They've got to play. And we'll be back with a preview for the Sunday game and the post-match on Sunday after the game. So hopefully the lads can put it right against the old enemy. That's in James's Park. But thanks for watching, guys. Remember, like and subscribe. I think we're over 12,800 now. So thank you so much to all you wonderful people who clicked that button. We really appreciate that. And Mark's been playing around with his buttons in the background. That sounds dodgy. It's not. He's fixing the old designs in the background. But thanks, guys, for getting us to 12,800. Only 200 to go until that magic 13,000. But thanks for watching. Remember to like and hype the video. Do all you can. Try and have a good evening wherever you are, or morning in New Zealand, or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Don't let the game wind you up too much. Hopefully the lads will put it right on Sunday. Ignore all the shit on social media and the infight and all that bollocks. Just go do you. And if you're pissed off, be pissed off. If you still believe, still believe. But the Sunday game is huge and we need to win it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a belter. See you later.
Celebrate. They have done it.